This plain-clad caravan was passing over the desert, with 5 people sitting inside, embarking on a memorable journey of their lives. Witnessing the sights of wildlife and the barren sands of the desert from the ground, as seen from the sky, is truly a privilege granted to only a few. But this beautiful journey of theirs was soon to become the worst tragedy of their lives. In the midst of the desert where survival for humans is impossible, a problem occurred in their vehicle suddenly, and the pilot had to crash land the plane. Welcome once again, viewers, to Back in Time Videos. Today we bring you a glimpse of the Kalahari Desert, located in South Africa, spanning over 9 square kilometers, making it the 6th largest desert in the world. It is not as dry as the African Sahara, and that is why you can find 325 separate types of wildlife habitats here. When it comes to predatory animals, the Kalahari Desert is home to lions, cheetahs, and wild dogs, along with African elephants, who do not tolerate anyone in their territory. People from all around the world visit South Africa for desert safaris to witness this incredible wildlife. Now, because this desert is so vast, it is shared among 3 countries in South Africa. Among them, the largest share of the Kalahari Desert belongs to Botswana. In the capital of Botswana, Gaborone, the executive director of a courier company chartered a private plane for a trip to the Kalahari Desert. They wanted to show their friends the magnificent sights of the desert. During an air journey, their friend Macaulay and they sent their wife, Land, and the pilot of the aircraft, Koistan Markand, as well. The aircraft they boarded was a twin-engine Cessna 414. The 5 individuals were very excited as they embarked on the journey. As soon as the plane took off, it smoothly headed towards the direction of the moon over the Kalahari Desert. Although it was supposed to be a 2-hour journey, they landed after just 1 hour, which caused quite a bit of anxiety. They noticed that there was an oil leak from one of the wings of the plane. At first, she thought it was normal, but then it didn't go away, and she shared this with her husband. When the pilot, Costa, was informed, he prudently shut down the engine of the plane from which the oil was leaking. According to the pilot, there was no immediate danger because the Cessna 414 still had 1 engine remaining. However, due to the scorching heat and the extremely thin and dry air in the African desert, the conditions were challenging. Therefore, in order to safely continue the flight, the decision was made to... Both engines were required to maintain power. The plane was gradually descending. The pilot contacted the Gaborone control tower in an emergency. Unfortunately, their misfortune was that the radio communication within the Kalahari Desert had also ceased to function. Now, the only way to save the aircraft was to make a self-landing at a suitable location. The aircraft was already at a relatively low altitude, which made it crucial for the pilot to quickly locate a landing strip. The pilot couldn't spot anything below except for small and large rocks and bushes. There was no suitable landing spot in sight. Now, there was only one option left, and that was to save their lives. The pilot instructed everyone to assume the brace position as the plane descended towards the bushes. They ended up crash landing in the midst of the desert. Just before the crash, the only thing the passengers inside could remember was getting very close to the ground and catching a glimpse of several herds of animals running away. When everyone regained consciousness after a few minutes, they found smoke and fire all around them. Lance's hand was burned, and Nip may have suffered a leg injury as he couldn't breathe properly. Then, everyone joined forces to get Nib out of the plane and placed him upright with the support of a tree. Apart from those 2, the remaining 3 didn't suffer any serious injuries. They had just managed to compose themselves when the fuel leaking from the plane caught fire, resulting in a powerful explosion that shattered the entire plane. Let me tell you that every plane has an emergency transponder that sends the plane's location to the control tower in case the radio malfunctions. However, when the pilot confessed that there was no emergency transponder in the Cessna 414, it became clear that they didn't have that safety measure. It felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath their feet, meaning that in such a vast desert, no one would know their location anymore. They were stranded among the trees in a deserted part of the Kalahari, where there was no sign of human presence. They had little to drink or eat left. It was crucial to get the 2 injured individuals to the hospital as soon as possible because their lives were hanging in the balance. Everyone's hope was that a rescue team would arrive soon and take them out of there. But the rescue team will only come when they know the location. Even if the rescue team starts searching for them in this wilderness, it could take them several days to reach here. As the day began to fade, they used the fire from the plane to start a bonfire. Throughout the night, they could hear the sounds of predatory animals coming from the bushes, but perhaps it was the bonfire that kept the animals at a distance. The second day had begun, but there was no sign of a rescue team anywhere in sight. The condition of all 5 individuals was deteriorating from bad to worse. Due to dehydration, their throats had become dry. In the morning, they started drinking the dew that had settled on leaves. They had only taken a few sips when the sun started to rise, and the dew disappeared as well. In the meantime, they heard the sound of an aircraft from a distance, hoping that the rescue team had arrived. They looked up at the sky with hope in their eyes, trying to spot the aircraft. They saw a passenger plane passing directly above them. They released smoke, made noises, but it was all in vain because it was nearly impossible for them to attract attention from such a height to make any noticeable signals. Now, their own death was staring them in the face. If they stayed here, they would die of hunger and thirst. And if they ventured outside, they might become prey to the animals' hunger. Finally, the evacuation director and the pilot made the decision to seek help in this dangerous desert. It was a very dangerous decision, but there was no other option left. Leaving behind their injured companions in search of help, they moved forward. The second day was also coming to an end, and Neve's condition was worsening even more. The scorching heat from the fire had further dehydrated them throughout the day. On the other hand, despite Cal and the pilot continuously searching all day, they hadn't found any specific source of water. On the second night, there was suddenly a downpour, but it lasted only for a short while, not long enough for the injured on the crash site to collect water in any container. 2 days had passed since the plane crash, and Cal and the pilot were becoming increasingly weak and helpless in the relentless desert conditions. I kept walking, but there seemed to be no sight of any human or a source of water for them. Now they began to doubt whether they were even heading in the right direction. On the other hand, Nabil's condition at the crash site had reached an extreme level of dehydration. And due to damaged lungs, the frequency of panic attacks started increasing because he had been standing straight for the past 2 days. He decided to venture into the jungle alone. As he went a little further, he discovered water collected from the rainfall of the previous night in a hollow tree trunk. There wasn't even a glass of water available, which they shared and consumed. On the 3rd and 4th day, they endured the situation as if they had lost all hope and were simply waiting for their own demise. The wounds of the leeches were already infested, while on the other hand, Cal and the pilot were exhausted from continuous walking for the past 4 days. It was also astonishing that despite being in the African wilderness, they had not yet fallen prey to any wild animal without any experience. At the end of the day, Cal and the pilot saw a distant silhouette of a hut. At first, they thought it might be their imagination because they had experienced such illusions before on the journey. It was indeed a hut with a girl sitting inside. Seeing this, their spirits were uplifted. They quenched their thirst first and then radioed their control tower, narrating the whole incident. The rescue team was already searching for them in the wilderness. However, due to the lack of accurate location information, they were searching for them in other parts of the desert. On the 6th day after the crash, early in the morning, the 3 friends were barely breathing on the crash site. The sound of a helicopter seemed to rejuvenate them as if it brought them back to life. Finally, the rescue team had reached the crash site. Those who survived the plane crash say that the arrival of the rescue team just a few seconds before death is nothing short of a miracle. It was truly a good decision for Cal and the pilot to leave their friends behind and venture out for help. All the people involved in the incident were saved, but after 2 years, the pilot lost his life in another plane crash. I hope you all will like and share this video of Back in Time. Thank you very much for your love-filled comments. See you in the next amazing video.